Hello again, BookTube, it's Brittany and welcome back to my channel Under the Radar Books, and today I'm going to be doing my November wrap-up. So I felt like I had a reading slump this month, but at the end of the day I actually think I did pretty well as far as reading goes. I read a total of 10 books in the month of November. I read 3 graphic novels, 2 short story collections, an essay collection, and 5 novels. So I'm going to go in the order of which I read them, so I'll start with the beginning of November. And the first book that I picked up in November was Saga Volume 2. And I know probably all of you guys know what this is about, so I'm not going to go into too many details about it, but I gave this one 5 stars. I also gave the first one 5 stars, and I think I even like this one a little bit better. And I'm not sure exactly why that is, but it's just such a good comic. It's such a good story, and it deals a lot with family, what you're willing to do for your family members, and there's just such quirky characters, and it's just so interesting, and I'm really enjoying it. So I'm hoping to get to Volume 3 in December. Next up, I finished You by Caroline Kepnes, and I had started this at the end of October, I believe. In my wrap-up I had started this maybe. But yeah, I gave this one 4 stars, and I really enjoyed it. If you don't know what this is about, it is about a young man who works at a bookstore, and one day this young woman walks into the store and he pretty much instantly falls in love with her. And he starts stalking her, he becomes obsessed with her, infatuated with her, and it kind of follows his journey through this obsession, and it's like a downward spiral and you're a part of it. Joe, as the main character, is extremely unreliable. You never quite know if he is sane or not. He has a very obsessive personality, and he's just very odd as a character, and I really enjoyed being inside of his head and kind of seeing a different side to the story. A lot of times it's from the victim standpoint, and this was from someone who is the actual stalker, and it was really interesting. It's a great thriller. I would highly recommend it. There's definitely parts that are quite graphic and difficult to read, so if you have trouble with that, I would say maybe avoid this one. But yeah, if you're into things like Gone Girl and The Girl on the Train and stuff like that, this is definitely in that type of genre. Yeah, and before I really wanted to read what the back of the book says, but I didn't have it with me, so I will just read you the back, and it says, "You're going to be so sorry when you realize what you made me do. The good news is I have no regrets." And that's all it says. So yeah, very good. Definitely pick it up. Next up, I finished Monsters by Emerald Fennell, and I do have a full review of this. I will link my video down below if you'd like to see it. This is about a young girl, an unnamed narrator, who goes to stay with her aunt and uncle in their hotel that they own on a small island. A murder actually takes place there, and she is super fascinated with murder, and she meets this young boy named Miles, and they both basically start trying to solve this mystery, and they're very odd, creepy children. This is definitely another one with an unreliable narrator. It's very interesting. Yeah, it's definitely dark for a YA book, and there's lots of very dark themes to it. I really enjoyed it though. I gave it 4 stars, so if this is your kind of thing, definitely give this one a try. Next up, I picked up another graphic novel, Morning Glories, Volume 1, and this is about all these teenagers that get sent to this special academy, and they quickly find out that all of them have the same birthday, and they kind of think that's odd. The teachers are very controlling and weird, and they get put in these very strange situations, and it's basically them trying to decode what is happening. And I liked this one. It didn't blow me away. There were a lot of times where I was kind of like I don't know, I wasn't super enthralled in the story, and maybe it's just because it's the first volume and they're just trying to introduce you to what's going on, but I will definitely try the second one just to see what it's like. But if it continues to be this way, I don't know if I will continue with this series. I believe I gave this 2.5 or 3 stars on Goodreads. Yeah, it just wasn't quite for me. I will see how the rest goes though. So if any of you guys have read this, let me know what you thought about it. I'm curious. I haven't seen it too much on BookTube. Next, I finished The Complete Polysyllabic Spree by Nick Hornby, and I read this for so long. I don't know why it took me forever to finish, but I definitely enjoyed it. It was good. I gave it 3 stars, and there were parts that were really funny. Nick Hornby is a really funny guy. He's very relatable, and he loves to read, and Nick Hornby wrote columns about the different books that he read and what he bought each month, and just basically like bookish essays for a magazine, and these are all of them compiled together, or at least some of them, I think. And so of course I loved it because it was bookish, but I don't know, it just kind of felt repetitive after a while, maybe. I'm not sure why I didn't absolutely love it, because most essay collections that involve books I adore, so for some reason it just didn't quite thrill me. Yeah, it was just okay, but I do think it's a good gift for other book lovers, and I have heard a lot of people really, really love it. I know that Leslie from Words of a Reader really enjoyed this. That's where I first heard about it. Okay, so my camera just ran out of space. I had to delete some things, and so hopefully I'm not moving too much. But next up, I read White Oleander by Jeanette Finch, and this was a read-along on BookTube that was coordinated by Jenny at Adultish Books. And I believe this is one of her favorite novels, and I was really interested to read it. I tried to read it at a younger age, maybe 12 or 13, and I just couldn't get into it, so I put it down. But I definitely wanted to try it, and I love read-alongs. I like to be able to discuss with people what you liked and didn't like, and kind of motivates you to get through a book maybe even wanting to get to for a long time. And the writing is so fantastic. It is like poetry. It is so beautiful. If I rated this based solely on the writing, it would be a 5-star book. But for me, it was just so dark, and in a lot of cases I like in a book. But for some reason, this was just really difficult for me to read. I had a really hard time picking it up. It was so depressing, and I don't know if it's because maybe it's a child that's going through it. I'm not sure why it was so hard for me, but I gave it 3 stars. Like I said, I love the writing, but the book, it was just, I read it over a very long period of time, and it was just really hard for me to get through. In the beginning, I loved it, and I thought I was just gonna fly through it. But then around maybe 120 pages, it just like, I don't know, just started dragging on to me. So anyways, I'm really interested to see if any of you guys have read it, what you thought, how you felt about it. If you maybe can give me some insight on maybe why I felt this way, that would be great. So tell me what you think. Next up, I read Wytches, Volume 1 by Snyder. And this is a fairly new graphic novel collection. It is a horror story for sure. It is very graphic and very creepy, so definitely for adults only. The artwork is absolutely fantastic. It is so amazing, so beautiful. It looks like watercolors or something. It is just obnoxiously pretty. But on top of that, I loved the story. I thought it was creepy. I really liked the characters. I loved this, honestly. This is one of the best graphic novels I read in a really long time. I gave it 5 stars, and I would highly recommend it. It's about a young girl and her father who moved to a new town, and they learn that there are these ancient creatures known as witches. And this isn't the witches you're thinking about, you know, that's like a woman who stirs things in a cauldron. This is like creepy, terrifying creatures, like deathly creatures. If you like horror, if you like graphic novels, this is so great. You've got to read this. Next up, me and my friend Joss from Squibbles Reads decided to read Slammed by Colleen Hoover. And originally we were going to read Red Queen, but both of us just weren't feeling like it at the moment, so we decided to pick something up that's like a little bit lighter. This was okay. I mean, it was definitely entertaining. I think it's what I needed, like something just like light and fluffy and didn't use a lot of my brain. I just kind of like breezed through it. There were so many times in this book where I was just rolling my eyes because it was just like the typical, you know, young adult instant love, and the phrases that they use all the time, like, I didn't realize I was holding my breath until, you know, those kinds of things, and it just felt kind of generic as far as YA stories go, unfortunately. I do enjoy Colleen Hoover's writing. I have read a couple of her books, and I definitely will probably read some other ones. Yeah, I wasn't blown away by this. I think I maybe gave it 3 stars. Yeah, yeah, I know a lot of people love it, but it was just okay for me. And then I also read Rental Heart and Other Fairy Tales by Kirsty Logan, and this was a buddy read with Lauren over at Lauren and the Books, and this is also a short story collection, and it's very short as well, and I loved this so much. I think this is probably my favorite short story collection I've ever read. It's basically, you know, retellings of modern fairy tales, and there's lots of tales that involve sexual orientation and kind of push the boundaries of those things, and they vary in length a lot. Some are just a couple pages long and some are very long, but they're all wonderful, and I would recommend this so highly. I think that my favorite story is probably the first one, The Rental Heart, which the title is based off of. It was just so beautiful. And if you're looking to get into short story collections, I think this is a really good place to start. It has quite a variety of stories, and I think Kirsty as an author is so amazing because she has the ability to write from so many different viewpoints and so many different situations, and I just think that's amazing. And as far as like the really short stories go, the ones that are just a couple pages, she has the ability to draw you in such a short period of time, and I think that that's really difficult, and it's amazing that she can do that. I really think that everyone should read this. Go buy this. It's amazing. Love it, love it. And then also exciting news, I finally got a Kindle this month. And so the last book that I read this month was on my Kindle. And I actually do not buy ebooks. I only check them out from the library, from the Overdrive app. I like to use any money that I have towards actual physical books. And so these are all the ebooks that I'm going to be talking about in the future are going to be from my library, and that's just a personal preference of mine. I don't think there's anything wrong with people buying ebooks at all. Yeah, I personally just like check them out from the library, and it's very convenient, and it's so easy to just hold it with one hand. It's so light. I have so much going on with my kids, and it's just very easy for me to take with me, and so it's very convenient for me. So the next book that I read was The Gap of Time by Jeanette Winterson, and hopefully you can see that. And this is her newest novel. The Gap of Time is a retelling of A Winter's Tale, and I really, really enjoyed this. And The Gap of Time is about Leo, who is a middle-aged man who believes that his wife is cheating on him with his best friend, and he thinks at the time she's pregnant with their second child, and he believes that this baby belongs to his best friend, and he's kind of neurotic about this fact, and nobody believes him that they have been together. Everyone believes that the child is actually Leo's and there's no problem at all, but he is adamant that this child does not belong to him. And so he creates this idea that he's going to figure out a way to make his best friend care for the baby when it's born. So to make a long story short, the baby somehow gets in the hands of a different family who ends up raising this young girl and having her become a part of their own family. And the story follows a lot of different people that are involved in the story and how all of their stories intertwine and relate to one another. And I love this. This is actually my first Jeanette Winterson book that I've read, and I have no idea why I waited so long to read her. For some reason, I thought that her books were going to be a lot more challenging or difficult to read, but I felt like they were very accessible, that the book was very accessible and easy to understand, and it was very exciting. The characters were well written. I felt very attached to them. I just thought it was brilliant, and I would highly recommend it. I personally thought it was a great place to start with Jeanette Winterson. Let me know if you feel differently. Let me know if you've read other Winterson novels and which one's your favorite. I do have quite a few of her books, and so I'm hoping to get to them soon. And yeah, I just really loved it, and I would highly recommend it to everyone. And then the book that I'm reading right now, and I'm actually almost done with it. I would say I'm like 75% done, is The Sweetness at the Bottom of the Pie by Alan Bradley, and this is the first in the Flavia de Luce mystery series, and I'm really liking it. It's very fun. It's definitely a cozy mystery. The main character, Flavia, is hilarious. She's so cute. She's like a little baby Sherlock or something. She's very quirky and she loves chemistry and she's just a great character. I am enjoying it so much. If you love mysteries, I think you'd really like this. I've heard really great things about it and I'm excited to finish it. Please let me know if you guys have read these books, if you want to read them, how you feel about them. Just leave some comments down below. Let me know how your reading month went and I would love to get chatting. And thank you so much for watching, you guys. I hope you had a wonderful Thanksgiving if you live in the US, and I appreciate all of you so much, and thank you so much for watching. Happy reading.